all I could think is, well, I can never not have this in my garden. So I guess I have to buy a nursery.
I guess I have to start a nursery. Hi everyone, Janey here. Welcome back. I'm obviously not in my garden today. I'm at one of my favorite places in the whole world, which is no longer Annie's Annuals. It is
Curious Flora Nursery.
Curious Flora Nursery. So if you all watched my video that was, I don't know, 6 weeks ago about Annie's, I met Colleen Wheeler for the first time, which was lovely meeting you.
So good to meet you.
And about 6 days later, everything.
Yeah.
So introduce yourself. What do you do here? What happened?
Yeah, so I'm Colleen. I am one of the owners of Curious Flora Nursery in the footprint of Annie's Annuals and Perennials, former retail nursery, and just as happy as a person's ever been to be at work.
Yeah.
Every day, it's like a dream.
Yeah.
I keep waiting to wake up, and I was just like, no.
So for Annie's, you were the research and development manager, and you took part in propagation.
I had my dirty little fingers in a lot of things. So propagation, a little bit in production, just anywhere they would let me sneak in. I was like, let me help.
You were there.
Yeah.
So tell me, what happened? What happened? Because this seemed like like all of a sudden, it was just crazy. What happened?
Yeah. It was crazy on the inside, too.
Was it? Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I was thinking when it did happen, I was like, oh, well, Janey was just here.
I was just there, like days before.
And I didn't know at that time. No. And so there was nothing I could have told you.
Yeah.
And so, we found out more or less when the public found out. Wow. And... Wow. It was shocking and, as you can imagine, a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so it just came with a lot of questions, a big sense of insecurity. And I think a big part of what we were feeling as a team was the heartache of not working together anymore.
Right.
And that was my big attachment to this place, was I had never worked anywhere before, and I've worked so many different places, but it's never felt like a family like this does.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to leave.
It's like your family was breaking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were some things that made us think that maybe things weren't going so well.
Like what?
I think the big one was when everything went on 40% off.
Yeah. That'll do it.
That'll do it.
That'll kind of get some, thoughts going.
You start thinking, those are clearance prices.
Yeah. And that's not normal for Annie's.
No, not normal for Annie's. So, we suspected that there was a change afoot, but we didn't know what that change was going to be.
Did you guys verbalize to each other that you kind of had your suspicions, or?
Yeah, I think what I saw happening was a lot of rumors going amongst both the public and within the team itself.
Yeah.
Because, of course, people are going to have questions. And so they were asking questions of each other and maybe didn't always have the correct answer. Yeah. And so what I wanted to do was sit down with my team and let them know how much I adored them and how much I loved working with them, and that I wanted to keep doing this. So it was probably about 5 days before the closure, and I sat them down and I said, I want to keep being a nursery here, and I want to keep doing it with you. And all I'm going to focus on for the next week is putting everything in place for us to continue to be a nursery together here, and for us having the strongest spring possible that we could ever imagine.
Wow.
And so I started giving little orders to go pull material for the gardens and to make sure that we had propagation material in place so that we could look forward to a strong spring together. Yeah. And I got some crazy looks.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like blind faith, like everything's going to be fine.
It was. And I just stayed focused on, I'm not somebody who would normally do self-actualization, but it definitely was a moment where it's like, let's give it a try. Yeah. At this point, I'll try anything. And so I'm going to have an image of this nursery growing and thriving with the team that I love in the spring. And let's put everything in place that we can to make sure that that happens.
Wow. So explain to everybody who the new owners are. Once Annie's announced its closure, who stepped up to become the new owners?
my mother, Penny Orland, stepped up in a huge way.
Yeah.
She's an avid gardener.
Yeah.
I actually, about 12 years ago, I was leaving to go to Europe to do some work exchange on farms. And she asked me before I left to create her dream garden for her in her backyard.
Yeah.
And she's in Southern California, in Brea, which is pretty hot, pretty dry. I was like, boy, this is going to be a challenge, but let's do this.
Yeah.
I was just like, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be zero grass. It's
Yeah.
going to be no lawn. It's going to be just this beautiful wonderland of plants. And she was super down for it. And then she never forgave me after that because she was spending 30 hours every week working in the garden and working a full-time job.
Oops.
Yeah. She's just like, I have no free time. This is all I do. I was like, but you love it,
But
right?
yeah, that's
and
the point.
she's like, yeah, I love it. I think that's kind of the origin story. And so it is part of the origin story of this nursery coming to be is her forming this really strong attachment to just the wonders of gardening and plants. And then I think also over the 2 years that I worked here, hearing the stories of everybody that I worked with, hearing about just the silliness and the love that's shared between all of the team.
Yeah.
I think she also recognized that I became a nicer and a better person. No.
So it's your mom and
myself.
and yourself, right?
Yes.
Which I just have to stop interview. Thank you. Thank you to you and thank you to your mom because this place is so special, especially for those of us who live in Northern California, this area. And for you guys to keep it going is like, oh, we were just all waiting for the news. Like, who's going to step up? Please, someone step up. And it was you and your mom. And I just...
It feels like the biggest privilege in the world. And I'm really just one of the people that stepped up in a huge, huge way. Because when it became a glimmer of a hope of maybe this was something that was within reach, the first thing that I did was I went out and I talked to Carlos, I talked to Jen, I talked to Memo. They're three of our amazing, amazing managers who really built this place.
Yeah.
They've been here for so long.
I mean, you said Memo was the...
Annie's first employee.
First employee. Annie's
Yeah.
first employee.
So over 20 years. I think he started when he was 16.
Oh!
There's pictures of that, like,
You're telling
little
his age.
baby face. I didn't say how old he is now, but that baby face, I didn't want to do this without them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do this without them. I don't have the full scope of skills.
Yeah.
I don't have all of the pieces it takes to make this work.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And they share it with everybody who works here every single day, from our entire propagation team to our production teams to the people in retail. It's just a community where sharing is the key to making it work. And so I would never have dreamt of doing this without them.
Yeah.
And so they really are, they're the magic.
Yeah. And how wonderful you guys chose to stay together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me about Rose, because what we're sitting here in these beautiful display gardens here. They're absolutely gorgeous, and we can thank Rose for that, among other people, of course.
Yeah.
But Rose really cares for these, right?
Yeah. So Rose has been in the gardens for about a year and a half. And she just has a gift. And I do frequently refer to it as magic. She just has a gift. Her gardens are seamless.
Yeah.
And I love the way that she works. And we are so excited to continue to maintain these gardens.
Yeah.
One of the things it was the little things that break your heart a little bit when you think about losing a place like this. And one of them was the hummingbirds. There are hummingbirds that come and nest here every season. There's insects that exist in this space that you probably won't find in a 5-mile radius.
Right.
They have habitat here.
Yes.
And they've had habitat here for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And so taking that away just seemed like an impossible task. And so we're going to keep the gardens. So we're already planning for our spring gardens.
Yay.
So excited about the spring gardens. So putting in our delphiniums, putting in the popivers, putting in all of the California native annuals. We're going to put ranunculus in the beds, which I'm obsessed with ranunculus right now.
that.
So
Me too.
I watched your video.
Did you?
I did.
I'm obsessed with ranunculus right now. First of all, I love that you're talking about next spring.
Yeah.
To me, that's so exciting. But it's no longer going to be under the name of Annie's.
Yeah.
It's now under another name.
Curious Flora Nursery.
Tell me about Curious Flora. First of all, where did the name come from? I love it, by the way. When I heard it, I was like, yeah, yep, perfect.
We're pretty pleased with it, very pleased with it. And it is shocking because I was told that I needed to come up with a nursery name in 2 days because we were on such a tight timeline. And it was like 2 days. I've been daydreaming about starting a nursery for 25 years.
Yeah.
And in all that time, I've never come up with a name that I liked. And where it started was I started thinking about my favorite plant inspirations.
Yeah.
And one of them was always Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Specifically the flower scene in the Disney movie. And I started thinking about that. And then I started muttering to myself, curiouser and curiouser.
Oh my gosh.
Curiouser and curiouser. And then I started thinking about who are we as a nursery. And I was like, oh, we're all about curious plants.
Yes.
We're all about the curiosity, but also just the weird and the strange and the bizarre and the exuberance of it. And I was like, curious Flora.
Yes.
And so we landed on that.
It's perfect. So tell me about Curious Flora Nursery, because I know we're here at Annie's. I mean, everybody knows this place as Annie's because it's such an institution. Yeah. How is Curious Flora going to change? How is it going to stay the same? Yeah. What's going to happen next spring?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the most important ways, not a lot's changing. Okay. Because these are the plants that we've grown as a team forever.
And it's the same people.
Yeah.
It's all the same people.
Yeah, it's all the same people. These are the people who figured out how to propagate these plants in the first place. Yeah. They are the ones who figured out their seasonality as far as for Northern California and even further down into Southern California. So we love the plants. Yeah. The plants are staying. Yeah. And that is what makes this team and this space special, is that it's been host to so many really cool plants. Yeah. So the plants are staying.
Cool.
We're always going to offer a really amazing selection, and we're going to be keeping track of just what our variety count is. Yeah. I don't want to see us dip. Yeah. I want us to just keep building and building and building. And because we are going to be exclusively retail for the foreseeable future. Okay. We won't be doing mail order. And so it means that we can do smaller crops of things. Okay. So it means we can do some of those really weird plants that nobody has seen in the Bay Area for 5, 10, 15 years. Because when you do mail order, you have an obligation to offer so many of those plants for a much more extended period of time and to have the quantities to meet those needs. Right. I was like, man, won't it be cool to just be able to grow 32 of something and have 32 people be stoked as all get out to have those in their garden?
Now, I do have to say, people are watching this right now going, okay,
what? I tried to sneak it in.
I know you did, and I'm going to stop you and pull you back. So one of the great things about Annie's is that Annie's did mail order, right? I've ordered off of Annie's because I've been too lazy to drive an hour to get here, which, we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that.
But so no more mail order.
No.
So
not for the foreseeable future. Okay. I really like seeing faces in front of me. Yeah. When they get that starry look in their eyes when they find their new favorite plant of the year. I think it's easier for people to stay enthusiastic, to feel comfortable gardening, to explore new plants when they have access to the plants physically in front of them, and also the people who grow them, the people who know them, us not being able to share what we do with a wider audience. Yeah. Of course, it's been so fun to go on travels and know for certain that I was seeing an Annie's plant in somebody's garden in a whole other state. Yeah. Of course, that breaks my heart. But I want their local nurseries to thrive.
I mean, that's something that we always talk about is independent garden centers. Yeah. Your local independent garden center and how important that is. And that's kind of what you're seems like to me is what you're doing is you're bringing Curious Flora to become a local independent garden center as opposed to a mail order garden center.
Yeah.
So I have a very important question. Well, first of all, I'll say, again, I already said this. Thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to your mom. Thank you to Carlos and Memo and Jen. Huge thank you to your whole team and everybody else. How do we, as the public, support you? Like, what can we do? Because I know that it was a huge step for you all to come together and take over and start Curious Flora Nursery. Now, what do we have to do as the public to make you guys, to thank you guys?
Yes. That's very nice of you to ask. And what we're telling everybody is spread the word.
Got it.
Because...
Check, I'm doing that right now.
I know, it's just like done and done.
Yay!
No, because we're in our own little bubble of like, we live entrenched in this world. So there are days where it's like, no, everybody knows, everybody's heard. And then I'll talk to a friend who lives in the Bay Area. He's like, wait, what? I was like, my whole life?
No.
And they're like, no, I hadn't heard. And I was just like, oh no. So we're asking if anybody has mailing lists that they participate in.
Yeah.
Get the word out that way. Share posts on Instagram and Facebook.
Share this video.
Yeah.
Like and share.
Any of that stuff. And then one thing we're putting on people's radar, we're not, we don't have everything locked into place at this very second, but we're going to do a big campaign. Because one of the things we weren't able to retain as a new nursery were all of the images of the plants.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I will say this. So Peaceful Valley, who bought the Annie's Annuals name.
Okay.
And the website and all of the photographs and stuff, they have been exceptionally generous with us, and they are letting us continue to use the plant signs in the stores.
Okay.
So the descriptions that everybody knows and loves, and the images, so
photos.
that people know what they're buying.
Yeah.
We're getting to use that in store.
Is that temporary or is it?
It's like long-term temporary.
Okay.
So we're getting to use those signs, but we want to build our own.
Yes.
And so we're going to have a campaign where we have people send us pictures. And so...
Doing it.
If people
I want a picture in the Curious Flora Nursery.
Wouldn't that be so much fun? You're walking through and you're like, oh my gosh, that's my delphinium.
Oh my gosh.
That's my dianthus.
And it's all the plants. If we've purchased a plant at Annie's Annuals, that's what we can submit.
It's almost guaranteed that it's going to be here and that we will also need images of it.
You understand that's my new goal in life, right?
Oh my gosh, we could have a competition to see who gets the most.
I want to get in the Curious Flora catalog. I want it.
I know. So we're really excited about that. So we're asking people to sign up for the newsletter. So if you go to curiousflora.com, you can click on a link to get you to a newsletter sign up. And that way we can let you know when we've launched that campaign.
Okay.
And we'll also be posting on Instagram and Facebook to let people know, like, we're ready to launch. We're ready to absorb what hopefully will be tens of thousands of images. And then go through and start sorting them.
Great.
Start naming them.
Great.
And then log them away so that we can start using them both on social media, but in the nursery itself. Okay. And I just think it'll be so much fun.
It'll be so fun. First of all gardeners love bragging about their garden. That's
boy,
the most important thing.
Do we ever?
And then contributing for a good cause, I think, is huge too. Yeah. Colleen, thank you so much. I'm going to be here a lot because, again, my new goal, everybody, and you guys should contribute too. Take your pictures. I am so sorry to all of you watching who are hearing the bad news about no delivery. Yeah. However, it just gives you an excuse to come to the Bay Area, to come to California, and to come visit this beautiful nursery. And
not the worst thing in the world.
Not the worst thing in the world. So a huge thank you for taking over and for taking the time to let me come and bug you today.
Oh, well, thanks for coming out. And I want to thank everybody who's been super, super supportive. People have reached out from all over the place. People have been so supportive. Seeing people on Instagram and Facebook and just...
the response.
I know. That was
crazy.
That really was the thing that put the wind in our sails. Yeah. And every time there was an obstacle, every time I thought we were trying to do an impossible thing, it removed all the obstacles in front of us. Because there's like, no, we have their support. We have the public support. They've been so lovely. I was just like, I want to do this as much for them as I am for myself and for this team, because I was an Annie's shopper before I was an Annie's employee, and I don't know what I would do without this space and without these plants. I will say there was a moment where I was like, oh gosh, there's this one native lupin I love so, so much. I don't know how to germinate it. And all I could think is, well, I can never not have this in my garden. So I guess I have to buy a nursery.
I guess I have to start a nursery.
If this is like Maria knows how to propagate this, I don't. So
thanks to that California lupin.
I know, Rodeo Rose.
Okay.
She's pink on pink and just a delight.
So you have to contribute the picture of Rodeo Rose.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, a huge thank you, and a huge thank you to all of you for all of your support for Curious Flora Nursery and Colleen and the whole team. Please like this video and please share it to get the word out, because you heard it from Colleen. That is how we're going to support her, the Independent Garden Center, and the whole team here at Curious Flora Nursery. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.